fun. It's been a challenge. The guys have been working extremely hard. Our coaching staff is doing a heck of a job of getting these guys together, making sure that they have a complete understanding of what we want and what we expect. So far, so good. Now, OTAs is ended. We're on to the next step, which is vet minicamp. So with that said, I'm all ears.
So I'm curious what you have seen from Sam Howell over the couple weeks, and what have you learned about him during this period?
Well, first of all, Sam's a very competitive kid. The thing I love about him, too, he's smart. He understands some of the times when he's making mistakes. And the only thing he wants to know is what can he do to get better. More than anything, I'm enjoying just watching him work and watching how he handles the highs and the lows, because you're going to have some of that throughout the course of working during the off season, just like you would if you were playing in the game. But the thing that I love about him is that he's always staying steady. His demeanor does not change, and he's very, very competitive. And I will say this, he auto-corrects himself as well, because he knows exactly what he did and what he should have done, which is a good thing.
And then for you, and we kind of talked to you about
Uh-oh. That'd have been bad.
Talked to you about this a little bit a couple weeks ago, but how energized do you feel? And do you kind of feel, do you almost look, in hindsight, look back and feel maybe you needed this kind of recharge for yourself?
You know what? It's fun. It's you guys gonna learn. I'm pretty loud at practice, so, but it's fun. But that's the beauty of being out there, because you get an opportunity to interact with your guys. You get an opportunity to watch them work. The thing that I want them to understand while we're out there is maximizing every single opportunity that we have. And so, yes, you have to create energy. We have to bring that energy so our players can feed off of that, so they can be excited about the opportunities that lies ahead. Practice should not feel like practice, okay? We're all in this professional arena. We get to have fun. This is professional sports. So why not go out there and enjoy what you do? But there's a professional way in which we got to get it done. We got to have a sense of urgency. We got to have a sense of purpose, all right? And then we got to have a plan on what we want to accomplish each and every day. I know practice is not going to be perfect, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But as long as we're working hard, and as long as we're working on 3 things minimum per player on something to help improve our game, then you know what? We're giving ourselves a chance down the line.
I was going to ask you, we saw yesterday you had the guys repeat some plays again and some drills as well. And what were some, I know each situation will be different, but what are those things that for you are, this is not acceptable at this point, that you want them to do? How big were they, or how small are some of the details?
Well, it's, first of all, we got to get out of the huddle. We got to know where to align. And then on top of that, we need to know exactly how we want to accomplish this particular scheme, this particular play. And depending on what the situation is, how we going to handle that particular situation. So at the end of the day, I want those guys to get it. All right? I want them to have an understanding that, you know, we can't waste these opportunities. We only have so many reps throughout the course of a practice, so we have to make it right, you know. Now, I understand at times we're going to make mistakes, but I also got to look at myself in the mirror and make sure that I'm doing the right thing and communicating the message clearly so they have a complete understanding, but also, too, that the message has been received. So a part of that, yes, at times Coach EB can get out of hand, okay, but also, too, those guys know I want them to strive for perfection in order to achieve excellence by having a complete understanding of what we're doing and how we're going to get it done.
And on the offensive line with Andrew and Sam, you've got 2 guys who've been playing primarily right tackle the last couple of years, but you obviously have Andrew staying there and Sam inside. What ultimately for you led to that decision? Obviously, you knew Andrew, but what led you to decide that's the way you wanted to go with those guys?
Well, at the end of the day, you just want your best 5 to play. And so you're going to put those guys in the best situations that's going to give us the best opportunity. Obviously, Wiley has played the right tackle position now for a number of years. He's also played guard. Sam has played tackle, but also we thought his best ability would be inside. But all of those guys have to remain flexible, because throughout the course of the season, knock on wood, you hate to say this, but injuries happen. And so these guys have to have the ability to have some position flex so they can go and line up and give us an opportunity if something was to happen. So at this particular time and talking with our O-line coach, this is the best situation for all of them. And not saying that, that one of those guys won't move at some point in time. But we want to give those guys the best opportunity because we feel that gives us the best opportunity to go be successful right now.
With the CBA and the limits on how much you're able to spend time on the field with the players, how far along do you feel? I mean, you've got new quarterback, new concepts. There's a lot of new stuff coming here. How's it going?
You know what? It's going good. We're we're still at the beginning. I mean, it's still the intro section of where we're at. But I will say this. These guys have done a heck of a job of working at it. We're challenging them to study. We're challenging them to study all the film. We want them to gain a perspective of how we're going to get things done. On top of that, it's all about creating a culture of accountability and creating a culture of how we work and how we do things. So it's still in its infant stages, but the thing that I like is that these guys have been receptive. They've been working their tails off, okay? These are professional football players. It ain't like we got a bunch of bad apples in the room. These guys, they want to do it right. They may not know it right now on how to do it the right way all the time, but they want to do it the right way. And that's the thing that makes it fun.
Mistakes are natural, right? And
yes.
Throughout life, though, when you have transitions and changes, there's often kind of hurdles and roadblocks. Have you experienced any pushback or have there been any situations where you've had to lean back?
No, and so there hasn't been any issues. But one thing, I'm always open and honest with the guys. If I make a mistake, hey, fellas, I screwed this up. I told you the wrong thing. I shouldn't have done that. So my job is to make sure that I'm also being accountable and displaying that so these guys can gain that trust within me. Because the last thing you want to do is lose that trust based on something that you told them that wasn't a fact or that wasn't right or it didn't apply in that particular situation. So, yes, I have made mistakes. And I'm not afraid of showing my vulnerability. And so I want them to be the same. And so I see that. And these guys, like I said, we got a good group. These guys they're learning what accountability means, but big picture, they're also learning the big picture, meaning that, hey, once they stop buying into, and not so much buying into, but making sure that they can do what is best for their teammate, okay, and stop looking out for themselves. Now they're seeing the big picture, which now if we grow together as a team and the player next to me is by far the most important player, okay, when we're going through a sequence of plays, then that's going to help take us to the next level because we have to learn how to play together. We have to learn how to play for one another. And that's the beauty of team sports. And this happens to be one of the best ones because without each other, we can't accomplish anything. It doesn't make a difference how much talent we have or don't have. We got to make sure that we're playing for each other and being accountable and making sure that we understand all the detailed aspects of what it's going to take for us to have the success that we want to have.
To build on that a little bit, Sam was talking about how you show clips from Kansas City, and obviously what you guys achieved there speaks for itself, but how do you reel back? I don't want to be like disparaging to Sam because he's very talented, but you had a Pro Bowl offense, you had all that. How do you reel that back in your mind as you are in these early phases?
Well, it's early. You know, we've technically had 6 practices against our defense. So we're at the infant stages. And the thing that I have to do every day is just make sure I take myself back and understand that, hey, you know what? What's real and what's not real? I got to observe everything objectively and see exactly what type of growth are we making. I've seen a number of players make some growth. I've seen Sadiq Charles make some growth. I've seen all the different things that Coach Travell and Coach Juan has been working with him. You know, I've seen Sam make some growth playing the right guard position. I've seen Sam make some growth. I've seen growth at a number of different positions. Now, I've also seen growth as an offense, not at the rate that you would like, but there's steady steps that are being made, which are working in a positive direction, and that's all you want. When you've had 6 practices, you got to look at it objectively and see where the growth is taking place. And we're going to learn how to get it done. I'm not concerned about that. These guys, like I said, there's some good people on this team, and there's some good people in that locker room, and they care. And they want to be great at what they do. They're just going through the infant stages right now of learning a new system and making sure they can put it together.
On the offensive line with Travell and Juan, what's your vision for that coaching area, and what do you want to see from? And I know you've got your input too. What does that look like, David?
I mean, it looks good. Coach Travell he's the offensive line coach. I mean, he's running everything, and we got a veteran offensive line coach and Coach Juan, who brings a whole lot of experience to that room as well. And Coach Juan is our run game coordinator. So he's been a big assistant for Travell. Travell is handling the room. He's doing a great job. If he needs help, Juan gives him a word of whatever, and it helps him, throughout the preparation. So those guys are doing a heck of a job. I'm proud of what they've done. And like I said, this is practice 6, so we got plenty of them coming up, especially with the vet minicamp coming up next week. And then on top of that, we got training camp, which I can't wait to damn training camp. I'm already fired up about training camp. And OTAs is not done yet. So, but those guys are doing a heck of a job.
Coach, as we get to know you and how you work, couldn't help but notice, you have a lot of animal calls, rhino, zebra. Where did that come from? Like, did that come from a certain place as far as simplicity for the offense, or something that people can grasp? Because it's kind of interesting. They're all animals that you use.
You know what? I've never even thought of it, but it just basically identifies our personnel group. So just letting us know exactly who's in and giving us an opportunity to put the best personnel out there on the field. But those guys, they take a lot of pride in it, because if a certain personnel group is called, those guys know exactly who's in, and those guys get excited about being a part of that particular play when it's called.
Ron was telling us about how he's letting you kind of set the practice times and kind of going about installing this offense. Is setting like practice times and stuff, is that a new responsibility here, or is that something you did in Kansas City as well?
Well, I'll say this. Coach Ron has been great. I've known Coach Ron now since the 1999 season. And, first of all, he's a great human being. On top of that, he's an outstanding head coach. I just appreciate him allowing me to have some input. And he's given me a little flexibility to help and adjust the schedules, because, he feels that certain things we needed to change. And I'm enjoying it because it allows me to have input. It also, because of the success that we've had, some of the things I've brought over from Kansas City and how we structure things. And on top of that, it's just given me a little bit more responsibilities as far as being the assistant head coach. So it's been great, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying all the challenges and the responsibilities. It's a part of the title. And when it's all said and done with, I just want to make sure that I'm doing what is right for us when it's all said and done with.
Right, Ron was saying that he wanted to make sure that title wasn't just a title.
Yeah, and that's exactly how he's going about it, which I greatly appreciate him for that.
And then I just wanted to pivot to Brian Robinson real quickly. We kind of saw him frustrated a little bit at the end of practice. I'm wondering how you handle a player like that, where it doesn't maybe go his way that day on the practice field. What do you do kind of afterwards to massage it over if you feel like you need to?
You shoot them straight. One thing that I take a tremendous amount of pride in is making sure that guys understand we're going to always over-communicate clarity. All right, we're not going to leave any stones unturned. If something was to happen, we're going to make sure that we address that issue right then and there. Good, bad, or indifferent. But when it's all said and done with, we leave it alone and we keep it moving, because we got too many good things to look forward to. And so I love what B-Rob brings to the table. I love the emotion and the excitement and the energy that he brings. One thing I want him, and not just him, but all of us to understand, is that we're all in this together. So regardless, you may be frustrated, but let's make sure that we don't lose our poise about something because it didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen. And that's a part of the growing process, okay? Because in order for us to be a great team, we got to make sure that we act as a team. And so sometimes things happen to whereas these are great learning lessons. And so B-Rob is about as good as a kid as they come. And he knew instantly he was happened to be wrong at that particular time. And he meant no ill will with anything. It was just his frustration of wanting to be great in that particular moment.
Good afternoon, Coach. A guy like Chris Rodriguez Jr., obviously a young running back looking to make an impression with the limitations on physicality at this stage in the program, where can he really kind of impress his coaches at this stage?
Special teams. All right. One thing that these guys are here for me, as long as we're together, there's an imaginary sign outside that door that says hiring all applicants. So, yeah, we got some pretty good running backs here. So just because you play that position don't mean that you can't play other positions. The quickest way to making this team is making sure that you become best friends with that special teams coach, all right? And if you're becoming best friends with that special teams coach, that means that you're finding a way to become a four-phase special teams player. Chris hasn't taken that for granted at all. He's doing a hell of a job of just working and doing whatever he can to show up on tape for all the right reasons. Chris is a hard-working kid. He takes a tremendous amount of pride in everything that he does, and you know, I think right now he's in a good place.
And then can you share maybe some thoughts on kind of where you've seen him grow maybe the most from rookie camp to the end of this OTA period?
So first of all, Coach Randy and Coach J.K. are doing a heck of a job with him. He's a smart kid. He works hard. Chris is pretty sharp. You know, I will say this. Chris has just remained steady. Very seldom do you have to correct him on any mistakes. Now, it might be a little technical issue that you may have to clean up. But as far as making mistakes, that's not in his DNA. He does it the right way, and that's what you love about him because he's smart, he gets it, and he understands the game, and he also understands the thing I love about him, he understands his strengths, and he's very aware of his weaknesses, which makes him he's very smart.
Hey, Coach, can you give a little update on where the tight end room is at and where that group is headed, especially with Armani Rogers going down basically in the first day of OTAs?
You know what? The tight end room is doing a heck of a job. Coach Todd Storm has done a hell of a job with those guys. I mean, Logan, Bates, those guys are doing a heck of a job. In fact, those guys have stood out for all the right reasons. Obviously, in this offense, it's always been a tight end-friendly offense. Those guys, they show up, they're making plays, and the quarterbacks have been doing a great job of locating them in the passing game. So far, so good. Like I said, these guys are hardworking, got a lot of veterans in that group. I think from top down, the depth is pretty good. I'm just proud of where we are at this particular point in time.
Going back to Chris Rodriguez, you mentioned his self-awareness and him knowing his strengths and weaknesses. Is that rare for a player his age and experience just coming in?
You know what? It's not rare, but it's always good to see, okay? Chris is very sharp. Obviously, his coaching staff did a heck of a job with him. And obviously his parents, did a hell of a job of raising him. He's a very sharp kid. He doesn't take anything for granted, and that's what you love about him. And that's why he's here. We felt that way about him when he was at Kentucky. And obviously he's had his shortcomings, but he's very aware of who he is and where he is, but he also understands the big picture.
And then Tavita, what was kind of your connection to him? What intrigued you about him to bring him in as QB's coach? And then how has his own experience as a player at Stanford benefited him with Sam?
So I've had an opportunity to know Tavita for a while now. Obviously, he played at Stanford. He was, at Stanford when I was coaching at UCLA once upon a time. And just that interaction of knowing who the person was because of recruiting and all that. But on top of that, the coaches that he worked with. I mean, some of my good friends were on that coaching staff at that particular time when he was playing. And then on top of that, when he first got into coaching. So I've had this connection with Tavita for a number of years. And then we finally had the opportunity to really sit down, I want to say, in 2018 at the first QB Summit. And we sat there and we connected from day one. Tavita's done a hell of a job. He's very smart. He's very intelligent. I think he brings an energy to that room. He's connected with those guys, and he's doing a hell of a job. And the thing that Tavita knows, because he's been familiar with this offense, because David Shaw has ran it when he was there. Coach Harbs ran it when he was there as well. And he just has a connection with those guys, and he's doing a great job of just laying out a plan for them, which has been great.
What would you say about your skill position group, and how have they responded to moving around as much as it seems like you've been doing that so far?
You know what? I think our skill position group is doing a heck of a job. I think all those guys, the receivers, the backs, the tight ends, I think they're intrigued because at any given time, anybody can line up anywhere. And so it keeps them on their toes, and it's forcing everyone to gain a complete understanding of the concepts that we're teaching. And so at the end of the day, you just want to challenge these guys and keep it fresh so they can come out and want to be at their best. But I'm excited with some of the things that we're doing. Obviously, we still got a long ways to go. But on top of that, I'm just intrigued by all the different pieces that we have. I'm not going to give away anything else, but it's been fun so far.
Well, when you do some of those things like Jahan in the backfield or doing the zone,
I don't know what
read,
you're talking about.
But do you have a specific application in mind when you're doing that, or are you just experimenting to see what happens?
Well, I mean, when you have good players, you want to give guys an opportunity to show what they can do. And so at the end of the day, when it's all said and done with, you want to give yourself the best chance to be the best team that you can be. And some guys have different gifts than others. And so you want to utilize their strengths, in different scenarios, and just making sure that you're turning every stone over. So now when it's time to go play, hey, we're loading it up, and hey, we're going out there. We're going to be ready for any given situation.
Terry McLaurin's been one of the cornerstones of this team for a couple of years. I'm just wondering what your early impressions are of him, both as a player and then kind of off the field too.
Ultimate professional. Does a hell of a job of showing up to work every single day. You want everybody to be like Terry. Terry works his tail off. He sets an example by his work ethics and what he does. He's also a man of his word. So, I mean, I knew about him when he came out of Ohio State. We watched a lot of tape on him when he was coming out. But love the man, love the character, and I am enjoying the professional football player.
One more quick question about your energy and your pace, well recognized, even appreciated on the field. Where does that come from? Is that something that came out through years of coaching, or is that just who you are day one as soon as you hit the field?
Probably since I was let me just say this the right way. I've always enjoyed being on the field. As a player, was out there energized and enthused, having fun. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that guys not take this opportunity for granted. So you want to let them know, hey, we have an opportunity to put something on tape. We have an opportunity to do something right now that's going to help us down the line. And so we have to maximize this moment. And so you bring that energy so they can feel the urgency and why today is by far the most important day. And so you want that to be something that becomes, you want it to basically vibrate around the room so everybody can feel that energy. And at the end of the day, I just want them to understand this is, what happened? We got a Zoom call, huh? All right. You just want these guys to go out and enjoy what we're doing. And so while I'm out there, it's always about making sure we're not taking anything for granted and making sure we're doing the little detailed things that's going to help us moving forward. And sometimes the things is just getting out of the huddle and getting up to the line of scrimmage and getting set. It's probably one of the most important things because it sets the tone to a defense. So I enjoy it every single day. I love it. This has been a part of my DNA since I was 6 years old. And as long as I'm out there, you guys will always hear me. I guarantee it.